Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. We are at episode 85. This is your co-host, Jay Cheema, with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire, the Puma, and our senior contributor, Aaron Rodgers, a.k.a. the Burg. Folks, welcome in. Post-draft podcast. How are you?
Football is right around the corner. I got that hit. Felt like, shooting up heroin, I guess you could say. Been deprived of football for a bit, and got my fix on draft night, and it was interesting. I mean, there was so much going on and so much noise going on just hours before the draft, and all the trade flurries and whatnot in the first round. It was must-see TV, despite all the BS of the pre-show stuff, but I can live with it.
Yeah. Listen, the offseason is finally done for most teams. The free agency period has come and gone. The draft has come and gone. The only thing left now on the calendar is that schedule release in the middle of May, and then we're 2.5 months away from training camp starting. So, Burg, on your end, did you watch the draft? How'd you feel? Was it cool to watch some football action? Give us your thoughts.
I think back to last year, when right in the start of this COVID-19 pandemic, and, the NFL draft last year was the first sporting event live on TV that we got in I think it was probably 2 months almost at that point. It was really nice to see them there in person. Not all the players were there, but it was nice to see, Goodell on the stage again, even though he brought his recliner with him, which I thought that was kind of corny, but that is what it is. But, it was just great. I watched the first round. I watched probably up to when the Patriots picked, and then I had to work the next morning, so I went to bed, and then watched a little bit of the second round on Friday night. But, it was great to, just have some football to talk about again, gearing up for the off season for fantasy. So it's been all hype city over here.
Yep. And just like you, Burg, I watched up until the Patriots pick, and then I blacked out for the rest of the night.
Oh my God! All right.
You ain't wrong. He wasn't talking a whole lot after.
I was like, I'm just gonna go sit in my corner and just call it a night, bro. This is it for me. It's a wrap.
That took 2 minutes to bring up.
It was almost like Jay, grunt twice if you want a soda. All right, like he wasn't saying anything. He wasn't speaking. He wasn't laughing at any jokes. Nothing. It's like, Jay, grunt twice if you want a soda. Oh, okay.
I kind of got that when you went silent in the Twitter chat, when it was like, hey, Jay, you went silent. Where you at? Are you okay?
Listen, I have grown a lot. Usually in my, past, younger, immature days, I would have just unloaded on whoever was texting me, right? But I told you, buddy, I was like, listen, I cannot do this tonight. I cannot argue with you tonight because I'm sure I'm going to say something to regret. So let me sleep on this, and then tomorrow we can pick this up. That is personal growth, okay? That's perfect. That's personal growth.
It got to the point where I actually had to text Puma and be like, dude, is he all right? Is he all right? Like, what's going on over there?
Let's give some context. Jay kept saying he was going to drive his truck off a bridge. He was gonna hang himself in the closet. And then out of nowhere, Burg just like, Brandon, is Jay good? Like, is he all set? I'm like, nah, he's fine. I did take the sharp objects away, but he's okay.
Oh my God.
To quote Dusty Rhodes, hard times, Daddy.
Yeah, for you, not for me. We're good.
There we go.
As you can tell, I'm not a big fan of the Mac Jones pick, but we will get to all of that. So, give you guys a quick rundown of the podcast. I'm going to give you guys, the first 15 and how the draft shook out. We're going to react to that and some of the big storylines coming out of the first 15 picked. And then from there, we'll talk about winners and losers. And then Burg is going to have the fantasy with bullets with Burg segment, correct? It's been a while since we did that.
It's been a while, yep.
Exactly. So I forgot the name for a quick second. But Burg is going to jump in, give you guys some intel on the rookies and some dynasty. So we're looking forward to it. You guys ready to do this?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's roll.
I don't know, Burg, you sound a little nervous there. You okay?
I just know what's coming, and it's... all right, let's get into it.
All right, so the draft started out very predictably. The Jacksonville Jaguars took Trevor Lawrence. The New York Jets took Zach Wilson. At number 3, that's when the draft really started. And, to all of our surprise, Trey Lance went to the San Francisco 49ers. At the 4th spot, the Atlanta Falcons took Kyle Pitts. At the 5 spot, the Cincinnati Bengals took Jamar Chase. The Miami Dolphins took Jalen Waddle at the number 6 spot. Penei Sewell fell all the way down to the Lions at number 7. J.C. Horn went to the Panthers at 8. Patrick Surtain went to the Broncos at 9. Devontae Smith went to the Philadelphia Eagles at 10. Justin Fields went to the Chicago Bears at 11. And the Chicago Bears actually moved up and traded with the... who did they trade with? They traded with...
Giants. I had a heart attack.
Yep. Dave Gettleman finally moved back, and Puma had a heart attack. It was kind of insane. Micah Parsons went to the Dallas Cowboys. Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern went to the Chargers. At 14, Elijah Vera Tucker went to the Jets. And then finally, my New England Patriots, unfortunately, took Big Mac Jones out of Alabama. So that is the top 15. And from there, fellas, I'm going to open it up to you guys. If you want to jump in first, Burg, or you, Brandon, whoever wants to go first. Just give me your initial impressions. What's some of the storylines you guys were intrigued by out of the first 15?
Oh, Burge, that's all. You go first.
Well, to start, obviously Trey Lance going to San Francisco at 3. Some of the reports coming out that, Shanahan and Lynch didn't even tell the coaching staff who they were going to take there. And based on some of the comments, it was definitely between him and Mac Jones. Just if you listen to the way that Shanahan was talking, the two names that he was always bringing up was Trey Lance and Mac Jones. So that was an interesting pick. For me, Cincinnati going Chase, I understand why they did it. I don't necessarily agree with it, given what they have there. I would have liked to have seen them take an offensive tackle there, either Sewell or Slater at that point. The Carolina pick of J.C. Horn kind of surprised me a little bit, being that high. I would have thought they would have either gone with a receiver there or even, with Justin Fields slipping, had them either take him or trade out. A lot of the reports you heard that they were in love with what Justin Fields was. So that was interesting. One of the biggest intriguing storylines for me was Denver taking a corner at number 9 when, all the talk going into the draft was they were going to be eyeing a quarterback. I don't know if that trade with Carolina for Teddy Bridgewater there had a play in that, but you knew Jerry Jones was upset with that. And it was evident when he traded out at number 10. They were clearly targeting a corner, defensive side of the ball at that point, and Denver kind of, I think, screwed that up for him. So Chicago giving a king's ransom to move up to 11 to get Fields was very interesting for me. I know we talked about this last week, that Chicago was kind of the dark horse to trade up from 20, them in Pittsburgh. So that kind of came to fruition there. And then, of course, New England taking Mac Jones. I'll give my rundown of that pick right now. I was underwhelmed when they selected him there. It's not a sexy pick. I'm not mad. I'm not excited or jubilant for that pick. But the team addressed a need, and I think it's clear based on how quickly that they got that pick in that Mac Jones was a guy they were really targeting in this draft, and he happened to fall in their lap. So, again, time will tell about him. There's definitely some question marks about him. Jay, you and I have gone back and forth on this so much, ad nauseum, almost to the point where I'm throwing up trying to talk about it with you.
It's only been 3 days. It's only been 3 days.
I know, and it's going to continue.
We've got a long way to go, buddy.
But you know what? For me, the only way for the Patriots that I was going to be very, very upset with the team is if they traded 15 and they traded out for 3 seconds and 2/4, and to quote Puma, trading for the Arby's and Subway coupons.
While sucking down a foot long, making that trade.
Okay. The point is they didn't do it. They stayed where they were. They addressed their need. The most critical need that everybody has been harping on them since Brady left, that they have no plan at quarterback. Now there's a plan. Now it's time to see if their plan is going to work or it's going to fail. So, for me, I like the pick. I'm happy with the pick. I'm not excited about it. I'm not angry about it. I'm just kind of bleh about it. We'll see how it goes.
So the official stance is you're underwhelmed with the pick, but you're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, right?
I'm gonna wait and see what he is. What do you have? I think the odds I read somewhere it's 52% chance of hitting on a quarterback in the first round. Mm-hmm. So it's a toss up either way. From everything you heard about Mac Jones, he's one of the more NFL ready guys. He's smart. He gets the ball out quick. He's accurate. kind of fits what the Patriots are doing on offense. I think this pick tells you that they're not going to try to mold their offense around a Cam Newton style quarterback at this point. So he fits what their offense has done in the past with Brady. If he can be half of what Brady is, I'm going to be ecstatic about that.
Okay. Brandon, floor is yours, sir. What stood out to you?
Yeah, just really to kind of echo the Cincinnati Bengals pick. Like Burg said, like I understand like Jamar Chase was, Joe Burrow's, go-to guy at LSU, but the fact of the matter is, despite Joe Burrow living in my very young gambling career lore of also being known as Joey Covers because the Bengals, for the most part, covered in and out, game in, game out up until he got hurt. You have to go offensive lineman at 5. You can just look at the I know I said it last week, but the photo of the jersey reveal where his knee is clearly swollen still. That scar looks nasty, and having Jamar Chase there isn't going to help if you can't protect the investment in Joe Burrow. So like I just hope they're not going to Andrew Luck Joe Burrow with not protecting the investment until it's way too late. The Kyle Pitts pick, I know the end is nigh for Matt Ryan, but with all these reports coming out that Julio Jones is more than likely going to be shipped after July 2nd, you're going to need playmakers on that offense, and you can line up Kyle Pitts. He's not a traditional tight end. He's almost like a Jimmy Graham type. You can line him up outside. You can put him inside closer to the line. I just wouldn't really expect him to produce a whole lot in the blocking scheme of things. And then down to number 14, Elijah Vera Tucker for the Jets. It's, Joe Douglas finally understands that it doesn't matter if you take a quarterback high. It doesn't mean shit if you can't protect the guy. And, Joe Douglas is an offensive lineman kind of guy. And I think you put Vera Tucker with Mekhi Becton. That's going to do wonders for the new franchise quarterback, the New York Jets, and Zach the Mormon Missile Wilson over there. So, all in all, like some of these picks were interesting. The Justin Fields one, I'm going to get to that in my winners and losers and the aspect of the New York Giants as a potential winner in this whole draft. But yeah, the Chicago Bears need a quarterback in the worst way, but now they have 3 guys. One guy that thinks he's going to automatically be the starter, especially according to Chicago Bears social media, calling Andy Dalton quarterback 1. And now you have Nick Foles on the hook for $9 million, and nobody's going to trade for that contract. So good on you, Chicago Bears. Way to go.
You don't want to give us your thoughts on the Patriots taking Mac Jones?
No, I'll leave that.
Okay,
I'll leave that to you.
Okay, all right. All right. So for me, man, the draft. What does that even mean? The draft really started at number 3, right? We all were like, who is San Francisco going to go to? There's a lot of smoke out there that's going to be Trey Lance or Mac Jones. I am personally in the belief that if you trade up and give up 3 first-rounders, you better damn well know who you're going to be picking at number 3. I don't think that they blindly went for number 3 and decided to take Trey Lance on the day of the draft. I think deep down and somewhere in his conscience, I think Kyle Shanahan knew Trey Lance was going to be it just because he wasn't sold on Mac Jones. And the fact that the Mac Jones was connected to San Francisco so hardcore, where every single week you saw somebody reporting that it's a done deal going to the 49ers, looking back, it really screams like, man, we went along for a ride. Essentially, they hoodwinked us, right? That's the way I see how the 49ers Trey Lance pick turned out. I do like Trey Lance. I think he's a little raw. I think he'll be perfect in that system in about a year or so, sitting behind Jimmy G. I think he's going to be absolutely dynamite in that offense. Now, moving down, I think the one team that I just a little bit of a precursor, I have the Bengals as losers in my winners and losers, and that Jamar Chase pick, I think all 3 of us agree, like you cannot, especially with Joe Burrow coming off of a season-ending ACL injury, you cannot go and take a wide receiver in the first round. I know they're best buds. I know they play at LSU. I know they get along great. But I think in that instance, you've got to save your young rookie quarterback from himself and give him the protection he needs. They should have taken Penny Sewell at number 5. Now moving further down, I absolutely love Jalen Waddle. You guys know how much I absolutely loved about him, raved about him for weeks on end. And I think the Miami Dolphins absolutely stole him at number 6. He's going to be wonderful. Penny Sewell going to the Lions was a great pick as well. Now further down, I think with Justin Fields, you guys know how much I loved him. I still believe that the Patriots had a really good opportunity to move from 15 to 11 and take a generational quarterback. Obviously he's a little raw still. You got to work with him, and I think in a year and a half, 2 years, he could be a Deshaun Watson type of player. Unfortunately, they passed on him. I think moving 15 to 11, only 4 spots could have been fairly doable for the Patriots, but they kind of stuck. They stayed at 15, and they took one Mac McCorkle-Jones from Alabama. And I cannot tell you how much I dislike the pick. I've been going back and forth with... I'm sorry. I absolutely hate this pick. I hate everything about Mac Jones. I think, the one thing people need to understand is, after the season is over, there was an initial flurry of mock drafts that came out once Alabama won the national championship from over Ohio State. And in those initial mock drafts, Mac Jones wasn't even in the first round. He was late first, early second. A lot of people had him in that really late first or early second position. Now, obviously, as we get closer to draft day, quarterbacks start shooting up the draft board. Stories start coming out. A lot of it is false, and it's just lying season. And Mac Jones catapulted all the way up to number 3 in some of these mock drafts that people were convinced is going to go to the 49ers. I think all that was a smokescreen. I think Mac Jones is a borderline. I don't want to say trash. I think he's just like an average quarterback. People say he's a winner, but unfortunately, every single person that comes out of Alabama is a winner. He's just another A.J. McCarron to me. At his ceiling, he could be a Kirk Cousins, but I think he's just another regular quarterback, and I think we're in for a long 3 years as the Patriots. I was hoping Bill Belichick would be able to see through all that facade, see through the fact that people are just lying out their asses, and Mac Jones isn't a first rounder, but unfortunately, he got hoodwinked as well. And now we've got to sit here and wonder what's going to happen for the next 3 years. And to be frank, I don't like it one bit.
It's not surprising. I mean, you have Bill Belichick and Nick Saban having sweater swaps every year. So let's be honest. Like, Saban's going to tell his boy whatever everything he's going to kind of want to hear. And I mean, I'm with you, Jay. I didn't like the pick either. Considering what the Bears had to trade with Old Faithful Dave Gettleman, Mr. I don't trade back. They gave up a future first rounder just to move up that many spots to go to 11. I would like to think Bill Belichick, for all the respect he still has for the New York Giants, he could have made a phone call and he could have cut a deal with Dave Gettleman, and it probably in the reality of things, to move up 4 spots, I don't think it would have cost that much. And then I think there was a deal to have been made there.
Well, I think and I'll let you go here in a second, Burge, but I think the other point I left out was I really do feel that Bill Belichick is just trying to get lazy. Like, he is flat out starting to get lazy with some of his draft picks. He's just relying heavily on people that are, in the know with him, his friends, people he trusts. And like, I understand that you trust these people, but at the end of the day, you've got to take their input, go back and think for yourself. Like, who am I going to be taking? Like, he did this with Greg Schiano out of Rutgers. He did this for years with Urban Meyer out of Florida. Now he's doing it with Alabama, and now he's also doing it with Michigan. This is the 3rd year in a row he's taking a Michigan defender, all because Josh McDaniels' brother works on the Michigan staff. Like, there's a pipeline there. And I'm not trying to say that relations don't matter. I mean, they matter in all facets of life, but I feel like he's starting to get very lazy and just like not putting the work in and just taking people that essentially they're just taking players that are being told they should be taken.
What do you think it would have cost for them to move up? Let's throw some numbers on it.
Not a first.
Probably a second.
I think a second.
I mean, I think that's doable with the 15th overall pick and a second rounder.
A second and a fourth, and maybe like a future mid-round draft pick. I mean, it definitely not like you're not giving up a first next year to move up 4 spots. Like, Chicago had to do that because where were they originally picking? 20? Like, they had to jump so many spots to do that. And I think you could have gotten away with it with maybe like a second or a third, maybe some other chump change.
I think
especially
it was
the relationship that he
had
with the Giants. So
I think it would have taken 2 seconds to move up that high. Plus, 50.
And you know what? Considering you have Justin Fields, who, listen, I am the biggest detractor of Ohio State. I am not going to front. But the fact of the matter is Justin Fields is mobile. He can make throws on the run. He can stand there in the pocket and take a beating. And Mac Jones is a statue. I mean, we've been on this show for a while now where we say that the NFL is transforming away from the pure pocket passer that is Mac Jones. And listen, I am not in the best shape of my life at this point, but like, unless this kid is going to be dropping some poundage to start moving around and be mobile enough to move the sticks, I don't know, man. I think Justin Fields would have been more of a better pick, I should say, just because he would open up so much more of the offense to you could do option kind of plays. You could do the offense that you were trying to do with Cam Newton at the beginning of the year before he got run down with COVID. Like, it wouldn't be that type of drop-off. You wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel when by week 8, let's assume that week 8 is going to be the benchmark for when Mac Jones might start, depending on when the bye weeks are. Like, he does not have the same skill set as Cam Newton. So if you put Mac Jones in there, now you're going to have to change the entire playbook around one for the rookie to have him succeed. So I think it would have been almost plug and play if you put Justin Fields in there.
I don't think that they have an interest in making that move to that style of offense. I think they want to continue doing what they're doing, and that is run the rock with the running backs and have dip and dunk quick passes. I think that's what they want to do, just like what they were doing with Brady. I think that is what they want to emulate in some capacity. Now, obviously, Mac Jones is not going to be Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the GOAT. His performance will never, ever be matched. He is so far ahead of everybody else that plays the game that no matter who you throw in there, no one is going to get that. If you get half of what Tom Brady brought to you out of Mac Jones, you're going to be in the mix every year, in my opinion. If they can operate, he's smart. He's not turning the ball over. He goes out. He makes these quick passes. He finds the right guys. He goes through his reads. Everything you hear about Mac Jones is he's a smart guy. He understands the game. He's able to pick up the playbook, and he's able to go through these reads and be accurate with the passes. That's what they want. Now, again, he is limited in his physical, being able to run the ball. He's faster than Tom Brady was coming out of college. He probably still is, obviously, because Brady's aged. Who's to say he can't scramble? I mean, he's not gonna run the rock, take the rock down, be like Deshaun Watson, freaking run 30 yards down the field. But he's going to be able to make the decision to tuck it down and run and pick up the yards the defense gives him. That's how I feel.
Yeah, for me, I understand the allure of taking a pocket passer if he was heads and shoulders above the rest of the field with his passing skills. But he's not. He's above average at best, and he's probably, I would say, maybe the third best passer out of all 5 of them. I think, if you came to me and gave me the proposition that this guy is just gonna sit in the pocket and just pick you apart, I don't think that's who he is. Essentially, he's going to be one of those guys that's going to have to lean heavily on the run game. He's going to be a guy that's going to have to essentially have the team kind of pick him up in a way. And I made the argument with you that we already had a Mac Jones on the roster in Jarrett Stidham. Except, you came back with Mac Jones had a better mental capacity or whatever as you said. So with that being said, do you see Mac Jones being starter week 1? Because for me, I expect him to be the starter week 1. If you're going to come back and tell me that he is so much better in his mental makeup than Jarrett Stidham, then he should be out there week 1. And I expect him to be out there week 1 and see if he can give us anything of value.
I don't hold that expectation. Like you, I believe that you look at every player that's come through. A lot of the players that come through New England, I won't say every player because that's how I'm going to get myself in trouble. But a lot of the players that come through here end up redshirting for a good portion of their rookie season. They don't end up playing all that much, and you see that kind of that leap in year 2, year 3 with these guys. And I don't think it'll be any different for the quarterback, but, they only have Cam Newton. So if Cam Newton comes in and he blows for the first 4 weeks, odds are you're going to see Mac Jones. But if you're asking me right now who's going to be the week 1 starter for the Patriots, I believe it will be Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. I just think that the Patriots system and the way they operate is vastly complicated. That and you saw last year when they dumbed it down, it didn't really work for Cam Newton. They were kind of forced into that based on what happened and based how they managed. They didn't have a serious plan at quarterback going into last season with Brady leaving, and I think you saw that come out with the way the team played all last year. So I personally don't want them to rush him. I want him to be put in when they are 100% sure he's ready to handle a majority of that playbook. Rushing him in there is not going to do anybody any good unless he is truly 100% ready.
Puma, when do you think we'll be seeing Mac Jones in the field?
Let's see. Again, this is pending what the schedule release is, but my barometer is going to be like the week 8 threshold, and I would like to think that he's going to be starting prior to week 8, just because this is a team that, despite who they were taking in the first round, not who, but like where they were going to be drafting, if they're going to trade up, as if everybody was peddling that Kool-Aid that Bill Belichick's going to be super aggressive in the draft and is going to move up and get his guy. It was going to be a quarterback in the first round. Everybody and their brother knew it was going to be a quarterback in the first round. Jay, like you have this rule as well too, that if you're taking in the first round a quarterback, you are starting. Like you are starting the first year. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And if my guy, Coach Flo, a disciple of the Belichick tree, pushed out there Tua Tagovailoa, which everyone thought he was going to be redshirted all of last year given the injury history. I fully expect Mac Jones to start. And, Bill Belichick can say all he wants. The old man can say all he wants that, Cam Newton's our guy and we're going to sit Mac Jones until he's ready and whatnot. Probably paraphrasing a couple of interviews he did. But the fact of the matter is if you look through the tea leaves, Bob Kraft has turned up the heat on a lot of things over the last couple of months with the free agency moves, and they're approaching the draft. And if we're going to sit here and it's, week 4, week 5, and they're kind of treading water, at the 500 mark, and, Cam Newton's not looking that great. It's like last year all over again. And everybody and their brothers calling a WEEI and 98.5 calling for Mac Jones to start. At some point, you're going to acquiesce to the fans. And, we haven't seen Bob Kraft do this a whole lot, but he has done it where he has thrown his weight around. And I think he understands that this fan base needs to get back to winning and needs to get back going quick. They didn't just spend $150 million in guaranteed money this year just to, kind of babysit the first-round quarterback that they took if Cam Newton's stinking the joint up. So I fully expect him to start at some point this year.
I think it'll be an open competition in camp, no matter what they say and what's being said in the press about Cam Newton being the guy. There's going to be a competition in camp, and if Mac Jones comes in and wows him and takes the job, which is what I think all of Patriot Nation is hoping for, then you'll see him start week 1. But at the end of the day, if he's not there yet, they're not going to just put him in a situation to fail and then throw him out there. They'll waste Cam Newton. I think last year was a perfect example of them wasting Cam Newton, just saying, go out there and do it. We're not going to bench you. And
now, was that wasting Cam, or was that knowing what you had in Stidham? Because I was the biggest guy that said Stidham's the leader in the clubhouse at the beginning of last season.
So was I.
And then by, what was it, week 8, when they kept throwing Cam Newton out there, it's like, I feel like this is a bigger indictment on Stidham than the fact of we're just going to waste Cam Newton.
I know we talked about this last year on the pod, was that maybe there was some sort of backdoor, handshake agreement saying, Cam, we're not going to bench you. And maybe, it got to a point where it's like, well, don't throw Stidham out there if he's going to be in a position to fail. At that point, again, it didn't matter. Like, you needed to see what you had in the guy, and he should have been playing at the end of the year. But what's wrong with the mentality of just throwing Cam Newton out there and just have him sink with the ship? That went net. Look at if he goes out there and he had been good, he would have gotten paid this year. But he's back on a $3 million guaranteed contract as the backup quarterback in New England. So, at worst, a backup quarterback, possibly the starter.
So, you think Belichick's going to carry 3 quarterbacks in the regular season, or is he going to cut somebody? And if he's going to cut somebody, who's he cutting? Because I think Jarrett Stidham might be cuttable here as training camp ends. Because
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think Cam, for the most part, I would love for Mac Jones to win the starting job. And if he is everything that people says he is, and he's the second most pro-ready quarterback, then he should be winning that quarterback spot. But I do believe Cam Newton is going to be starting quarterback week 1. And I think Jarrett Stidham is going to become expendable, and they're going to cut him as the training camp ends.
Yeah, I think he seems like he's. I mean, you follow what he's been doing all offseason. I think he knows his time is limited, and he's got to try to show something here. It won't surprise me if they carry the 3. I mean, they did it last year, with Hoyer, Newton, and Stidham. It won't surprise me if they do it again. I think Stidham has 2 years left on his contract, or 1, 2 or 1.
2.
I think 1, 2. Okay, whatever.
No, yeah, he'll have 2 years left going into camp. So maybe they hang on to him and Newton. I mean, Newton's not costing them anything. Stidham's not costing them anything. Unless they're in dire need of the roster spot, come cut down day. I think there's a good chance that you'll see all 3 of them again back next year. But I would agree with you that I think that the Cam Newton spot, if they don't do anything else at quarterback, which I don't expect them to, I think Cam Newton's spot is pretty safe, and I think Stidham would be the one on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm. And I want to elaborate on a point that Pruma brought up, because I heard it quite a bit today on 98.5 and WEI. I was listening to my podcasts. There seems to be this thought process that maybe Bill Belichick didn't make that pick at 15, that maybe there was pressure from Bob Kraft and ownership to kind of step in and help him make that decision. There's reports by Ben Volen that kind of suggest that. I'm of the mindset that the Ernie Adams retirement wasn't coincidence. I know it's a little conspiratorial here on my part, which I hate to do, but I think there might be something to be said about how Robert Kraft has approached this offseason, the stuff he said, the amount of money he's paid, and some of the shakeups that are happening. I think there might be a serious, hey, I'm going to actually help you with this process because I don't trust your thought process in Bill Belichick. What do you say to that, Burge?
I think it's entirely possible, and I think that the Ernie Adams thing is very coincidental at this point. How they've been kind of pushing that, in the reports lately. When he was a guy you never really heard from, from the last 20 years. He was kind of that guy behind the scenes. He contributed a lot to the last 20 years of the Patriots and their success. There's definitely, I think there's a little bit of fuel to that fire, but with Mac Jones being in Alabama there, and with the Patriots not trading up for the guy, I think there would be more legs to stand on with Kraft really influencing the decision if they traded up for a guy. Where Mac Jones fell to them at 15. And he's from Alabama, which obviously we've gone over and over again about the connection there between the Patriots and Alabama. I think there is a strong possibility that going through their draft evaluation that he was a guy that they were okay with taking, were good with taking at 15 without trading up. And, if him or Fields fell to them, they were going to be happy with either one of them. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
Let me ask you a hypothetical. Let's say Fields and Jones were there at 15. Who do you think Belichick goes with in that regard?
Well, I don't like dealing with these.
No, he trades back for 3 Arby's gift cards and a Subway.
No.
Him actually taking somebody at 15 is aggressive, Puma. Come on, what's wrong with you?
I think that he probably... You're gonna hate me for saying this, but I think he was probably gonna take Mac Jones either way.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you're all on the Mac Jones bandwagon, huh?
No. Come on. I said I'm underwhelmed by it. I'm just blah about it.
Okay.
I come on. I was here last week saying that I wanted them to go up for Fields. That was ideal, and I didn't really care to get Mac Jones.
What was your thoughts on the report that Elijah Vera Tucker was going to be their pick? However, unfortunately, the Jets snagged him up at the last minute. What's your thoughts on that?
I did see that, and I thought that was very interesting because I was wondering why the Jets tried to leapfrog the Patriots there. Why do they feel the need to leapfrog the Patriots there when you figured everybody I think and their mother knew that quarterback was going to be going off the board once Fields went, and then obviously from 11 to 15 you knew nobody was going to really be interested in taking a quarterback. So I thought that was a very interesting move, and I think there might be some legs behind that because they just lost Tooney, and they have Cam Newton. They want to protect him as best they can. I think there's some legs to that, and I think there would have been more of an uprising if they had done that and passed on Mac Jones than them actually taking Mac Jones at 15.
Yeah, listen, I mean, all the reporting you're getting, all the feeling you're getting, I don't think that they really liked Mac Jones. I really don't think Belichick deep down loved Mac Jones. I think he really wanted to go with that Elijah Vera Tucker kid. And there was even reports out of Arizona that said that they were shocked and stunned that Xavier Collins wasn't taken at 15 by the Patriots. So there seems to be a lot of smoke here. I'm of the belief that Mac Jones was forced onto Belichick. I mean, you saw that little clip that Patriots.com Twitter page sent out about how it's all a collaborative effort, how everybody kind of like went around the room, and it was like obviously it was all forced, but it's trying to change a narrative, and I think there is some truth to the fact that I think ownership is trying their best to take some of the power away from Belichick, and truthfully, I applaud them. I mean, this is one of the first good things that Robert Kraft has done in years. I mean, I was not happy when he let Brady walk out the door. I was not happy with a couple of things that he's done, but for the first time in a long time, I am ecstatic if he's actually reining in Bill Belichick, aka Bill Bellafraud, aka the most overrated head coach in NFL history.
Oh my God!
Wow.
I will say this: if he is stepping in and helping with the draft, I'm okay with it. You can debate me all day long about the coaching, Bill Belichick, but we I think you and I actually agree with the fact that he has not been good at drafting for the last 5 years, even though he has had some hits, just not in the skill position areas where, you kind of need to have those hits.
Just that sentence alone. He's had some hits, except for the skill positions, that's no hits there.
You got that Pro Bowl punter, baby.
It's like that, like, what is that?
Okay, so let's not act like he hasn't drafted well on the offensive line. Come on. He's had a couple of hits, all right?
I'm ready.
But
I'm ready for Jake Bailey to take us to the Super Bowl. I'm ready for that. Yay! I'm sorry. Go ahead. I couldn't help myself.
God. At this point, like, all I'm gonna say is, like, I was very satisfied with the results of their draft. They addressed many needs that they needed to address going into the weekend. They shored up that defensive line with Barmore and Ronnie Perkins there. So I'm happy. I'm very happy, and we'll get into it when we talk about the the winners and losers. But like, I'm very happy about it.
Okay, Puma, any last thoughts before we move on to winners and losers?
No. Let's move this train along.
Let's. I'm gonna start off with the winner here, and Puma. I like to give credit to the Dolphins when they've done something good, and one of the winners for me was the Dolphins. I mean, not only was their first round selection Jalen Waddle, I think a home run. I also like that Jalen Phillips pick up out of Miami at 18. He's a defensive end. I like his skills. But even further down, they got an offensive tackle out of Notre Dame, Liam Eschenberg, who I think is gonna be great in Tua's development. But the key for me was when they took Hunter Long. I really like that kid quite a bit. The tight end out of Boston with the pick number 81. I think he's gonna do wonders for Tua, and you can see a concerted effort by Flo and the front office to provide as much protection and weapons as possible for Tua, because this is probably going to be his last stand. This is the year they're going to figure out if Tua is the guy or not. And we will know by November with all these draft picks that they've brought in on the offensive side, if Tua is the guy or not.
Yep. No, I liked it. I mean, when the Dolphins were on the clock and, Penei Sewell was still there, I think my wife, Tara, was trying to film like a reaction to see if I was going to get pissed if we didn't take, Penei Sewell. But, I walked away happy. For the first time in like 4 years, I was actually happy with the draft. The Jalen Waddle pick. I love that a ton. I love the Phillips pick as well, too, just because we really didn't have that much of a pass rush, and it really got exposed in the Broncos game. I believe it was like around like week 7 or 8. That's when the win streak ended with Tua up in Denver. But from everything that I've seen of Phillips, he really pops off the tape. He's got a lot of bend and wiggle, and he's going to get after the quarterback in the backfield. So I really loved that pick. And now, with all that being said, if this is the first time I'm happy with the Dolphins draft in 4 years, that probably means Tua's going to get sacked awkwardly week 1 and break his hip again. And now that we don't have our safety blanket in Ryan Fitzpatrick, we're fucked. But I'll take what I can get at this point. I really love the Dolphins draft as well too.
Well, Puma, I mean, how crazy is it that the roles have been flipped here, right? There was years on end where you'd be the one crying on draft day, but now it's Jay Cheema's in the fucking dumps on draft day.
Welcome to the life of a regular fan of a normal NFL franchise.
Is this how it feels? This sucks.
Hashtag spoiled.
Oh
Here
my
we go.
God. If this is how it feels, I don't want no part of this shit.
Yeah. All right, who's next up for the winners? Are we doing like 3 each? What are we doing?
I mean, I only got like a couple, but Burg, who's one of your winners?
I'm gonna start off. I'll go with the Patriots.
Oh, shocker!
Yeah. Well, I'll go with the Patriots.
For those of you that don't know, Burg is on the payroll.
Who would have thunk it?
Look. They addressed their biggest need in the first round of the draft, which, I for one was shocked they actually did it. Because of how the last 4 or 5 years have gone with the draft, they've always moved out of their first round pick. But it was nice to see them stay at 15. Warranted me staying up until 10:30 when I had to be up at 4:30 in the morning the next day to see the pick. And they got their guy, the quarterback, Mac Jones, out of Alabama. Time will tell if he actually is, going to be worth the pick. Like I said before, 50-50 chance in the first round of hitting on the quarterback. So we'll see. And I love the kid from Alabama, Christian Barmore. I know, Jay, you've had some report about him being having a red flag attached to him. I think that he's a great fit for him here in New England. They needed to address that defensive line, to go with the guys they signed with Godchow and Anderson, along with Lawrence Guy, to stop the run this year. They were atrocious against the run last year, so I love that pick to shore up that. Ronnie Perkins, wasn't expected to be there when they picked at 96, and I think that he's going to be a great fit for that D line. Mm-hmm. And, I even like the pick Ramondre Stevenson out of Oklahoma. Pretty much spells the end of Sony Michel in New England, I think, with that pick.
Damn right.
Reports are saying that they're not going to pick up his fifth-year option. He's kind of that LeGarrette Blount style running back, which they've kind of missed since LeGarrette Blount left. I think he's a great fit. So I like what they did. They addressed a bunch of needs that they had, especially on the front seven on the defense, and obviously the big position of quarterback. The only one thing that I would have liked to have seen done different, and it by no means affects my opinion on the draft, was them to take a wide receiver earlier than the 7th round that they took this year. Maybe they have something coming down the road in terms of a trade as the season gets closer, to kind of get that one more receiver for the offense. And we'll see. But I was very pleased with how the draft went. As met as I am about the first round pick, I like what they did later in the draft.
Okay. My other winner, and this will take into account free agency as well. But looking at all the moves the Cleveland Browns have made this offseason, I'm actually blown away with just what they've done, right? I mean, we'll start off with Jadeveon Clowney. They signed free agency. They signed cornerback Troy Hill in free agency as well. And they signed safety John Johnson III in free agency. In the first round, they took cornerback Greg Newsome III. On Thursday night, and then they took linebacker Jermaine Awusa Carmoa. Is that his name? He came in the second round. But just looking at those moves, man, like Kevin Stefanski is absolutely loading up that defense. I mean, that's probably going to be one of the best defenses in all of pro football. Them and I believe the Arizona Cardinals are going to be up there. But I mean, this is just all setting up for Baker Mayfield to make a deeper run in the playoffs. I mean, they've got the offensive weapons. We don't know what's going to happen with OBJ. I don't know if he's going to stay there or if he's going to be traded away. But I really like everything in a nutshell, both free agency and draft combined for the Cleveland Browns. And I think they're a big winner in my book.
Yeah, my winner, I really love what this team did, was the Washington football team. They addressed a lot of needs within the first 3 rounds of the draft. Starting off with Jamin Davis, linebacker out of University of Kentucky. A lot of people had him ahead of Micah Parsons out of Penn State, but he fills an immediate need. One of the weakest parts of this Washington defense was the linebacker position. Considering who your head coach is in Ron Rivera and who your defensive coordinator is in Jack Del Rio, that was kind of surprising to see that be the weak link. If they immediately addressed that with Davis. The offensive lineman pick is Samuel Cosme out of Texas. I mean, they have to plan for life after Brandon Sheriff. They hit him with the franchise tag a second time. I'm not sure if they're actually going to get a long-term deal done with him, but Cosme looks like a very solid player for the second round. It fills a great need. And the pick at wide receiver, the kid Brown out of University of North Carolina, you put him opposite of the captain, Terry McLaurin. This guy he's a burner out of North Carolina. He has a really nice vertical route tree, and he can be physical. He does fight for the contested balls. And right now the Washington football team, if you look at this pick in Brown, you put Terry McLaurin out there, Logan Thomas at tight end, who I believe is a free agent at the end of this year, but I would not be surprised if they get an extension done and lock him up for a few more years in Washington, and Antonio Gibson. This is going to be a very fun offense to watch, especially with Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing the ball for 5,000 yards. Now, granted, we can say what we want about the interceptions, but in this NFC East where it doesn't take a whole lot to win, if you could shore up that defensive hole at the linebacker position and have a mini track team on offense, this is going to be an absolute fun team to watch in real life football and in fantasy football, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I really liked what Minnesota did. They had number 14. They traded back to 23, and they took offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw. Shore up that offensive line for the now quarterback Kirk Cousins. And then day 2, they took who was one of my top picks for the Patriots quarterback, and that's Kellen Mond. They got their quarterback of the future on the books. You got Kirk Cousins for another 2 years, and they got the guy there now, which is great. I think he's got a serious shot to be an effective NFL quarterback. And then they also went with their defense there, Chaz Charette and Patrick Jones. So I really like what they did. The trade back, in the first round, I think really played to their favor to, add additional assets for the team. So I really like, what their future is going to bring. I'm excited to see in a couple of years what Kellen Mond can be.
Mm-hmm. And then finally for me, my last winner, and this is another one of those combined with free agency and draft picks. I really like what the Los Angeles Chargers did. It's obviously no surprise that I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan, and they really needed to shore up that offensive line, so they went out and they signed Corey Linsley in free agency. They signed Jared Cook as a tight end in free agency, but then somehow Rashawn Slater fell to them in the first round, which is absolutely great for those guys. They ended up taking cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. out of Florida State in the second round, and then finally Josh Palmer is a wide receiver they took in the third round, who is kind of underrated. I think he could be a potential steal. So go for the Chargers. They're doing whatever they can to surround Justin Herbert with talent and protection, and I have them as my last winner of the winners.
Sweet. Really, the only other winner I have is just Dave Gettleman. I mean, he did the most the most anti Dave Gettleman thing throughout his entire tenure as a general manager. He's never traded back, and in my opinion, granted the Bears had to pay up. We could all agree on that, but I mean, I think he fleeced the Chicago Bears. He got a future first round draft pick for next year.
Absolutely.
He got a couple of second and third round draft picks for this season as well too. And, you know, look at what he did with those picks. He took Tony out of Florida at the wide receiver position, and they're really stacking up the offensive weapons around Daniel Jones, because at the end of the season, they're going to have to figure out if they're going to pick up the fifth-year option for DJ. I honestly think they are, but also at the same time, like, Gettleman understands that Joe Judge is getting a lot of cachet in that building, considering what he's done with that team. And he can start to feel the fires a little bit of some people are kind of starting to look at him sideways, wondering if he is the right guy for the job as the general manager of the New York Football Giants. And, you know, Jay, you brought this up on Saturday when we were out getting lunch before the second round started, that if he does get shipped off, at least like he is leaving the team in a position to succeed by getting future draft assets to help this team build around a potential franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones. So I absolutely loved what Dave Gettleman did. And I wish my wife took a video of this where I fell down on the floor and started convulsing a little bit when Dave Gettleman traded back. I almost died. It was like, cue the Stone Cold Steve Austin music. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, breaking glass. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, I guess I'll go with my final winner being Kyle Trask, getting drafted in the second round by Tampa Bay. He goes into a great situation there. Obviously, he's got the GOAT to sit behind and learn from what seems like the next 2 years or whenever Tom decides to hang him up. But he couldn't have fallen in a better spot, and I applaud Tampa for going out and making that pick. With a pretty complete roster that they have, they had a luxury to do that. And, they get their quarterback who is presumably going to be the heir apparent to Tom Brady down there. I love the pick.
Yeah, great situation for Kyle Trask, man. And spot on with Kelman as well. I think Minnesota got them a steal, and I think eventually when Kirk Cousins moves on, I think Kelman's going to be great for them. So with that being said, let's move on to some losers. For me, listen, I really have only one, truthfully. I mean, I'm sure you guys are going to bring up Cincinnati and what they did and giving into their young quarterback and taking a wide receiver instead of a tackle. But for me, it really just comes down to I expected a lot out of the New England Patriots this year. But for me, they're big-time losers. And I think Bill Belichick, when we look back at this, is going to be one of his worst drafts. We're going to look back and be like, my God, N'Keal Harry was a great pick compared to what Mac Jones is going to be. So we've already hashed out what Mac Jones is going to be. We've given our takes on that, so I'm not going to rehash that. But moving further along down to Christian Barrymore, the defensive tackle out of Alabama, I think this was an absolutely horrendous pick, especially with some of the red flags that are coming out about him. The fact that, Alabama held him together is what one of the scouts said. And honestly, there's questions about Barrymore's intelligence is what another scout said. There was some issues with his general accountability. So with all those red flags, I think this was a little bit of a reach on Belichick's part. The fact, especially that he gave up draft capital to move up. Now, I won't lie. I've said this many times. I absolutely love Ronnie Parkers in the third round. That's the one pick that I think is going to be wonderful. The guy's explosive. He's long. He's lean. Every single time I watched Oklahoma, he pops, so no complaints there. However, moving further down, I was not the biggest fan of the running back they took in the 4th round. I mean, I think running backs are a dime a dozen. You can find them all over the spot. Whatever. I mean, for me, it's just a black pick. But then the pick that really kind of got me thinking a little bit sideways was in round 5 with number 177 overall, Cameron McGrone, which is a linebacker out of Michigan. He is eventually, is going to play for us, but not this year. Looks like Belichick himself said there might be some issues with him not being prepared this year because there's torn ACL as of last November. So he might just kind of be sitting out this year and will be coming up. He'll be playing with us in 2022, which the question begs to be asked, could you not have found somebody else in that spot? This goes back to the argument I was trying to make earlier. It seems like he's just leaning on people he knows within these colleges. Apparently, Josh McDaniels' brother works at Michigan, and now we're starting to see, Chase Winovich, Josh Uche, now this Cameron McGrone guy. Just lazy picking all around over for Belichick. And then finally, the 6th round, 7th rounders, who cares? These guys are not really going to pan out. You take a flyer on these guys. You took Joshua Bledsoe, never heard of this kid, and then the wide receiver. We waited until the round 7 to take a wide receiver because, at the end of the day, our wide receiver group is still not great. I mean, it's up to par, but we still need some pieces there, and it looks like they punted in the draft for wide receiver. So, all in all, I think Belichick had another bad draft. This is now 5 years in a row. There's a reason why I call him Belfort, and it's because of moves like this and thought process like this.
I'm not touching it.
All right, it's my turn for losers because I got 2. I got one that's a team and one that's a person. And my biggest loser that's a team, I was going to go back to back because I'll keep it brief, is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now,
wow.
Trevor Lawrence is the slam dunk number 1 overall pick. I understand it. You got to put asses in the seats in Jacksonville. You haven't put out a great product. There's rumors that you're going to be moving to London. You got shot down by the local government trying to expand out the game day experience by kind of creating a Patriot Place-esque environment around the stadium, and Jacksonville, to their credit, said no, which is asinine to me, but okay, that's well within your prerogative. Then you get down to the 25th pick in the 1st round, and you take Travis Etienne. Now, I wouldn't have an issue with the pick if, there wasn't a fellow by the name of James Robinson out there who can do both the thumper role out of the backfield and can also catch the ball out the backfield as well, too. And when it doesn't help when your new head coach comes out and says, my 25th overall pick is going to be a 3rd down receiving back. What the fuck are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And then you have the general manager, Trent Baalke, the former general manager of the 49ers, apparently doing Trent Baalke-like things if you follow 49er beat reporters, when he took two players that were coming off of devastating ACL injuries in the 2nd and the 3rd round in Walker Little and Andre Sisco. Like, this team, in the words of the great Will Brinson, is about to Andrew Luck the number 1 draft pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it is frustrating. It is asinine. You should have started. You could have gotten offensive lineman at 25. You could have did something of value in the 2nd round where the guy actually has functioning ACLs. But no, this is what you do. This is the best that you can freaking come up with, is Travis Etienne, the 3rd down back. I tweeted this out there. Did James Robinson die? Like, I thought James Robinson died just by the fact that they drafted Travis Etienne. And then my second loser, and I'm actually going to try to keep this brief, but we all know this is a lie, is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the biggest loser out of this draft. And I know we didn't talk a whole lot about the situation, but I'll bring all the listeners up to speed. So 3 hours before the draft, Adam Schefter is on the NFL Live pre-show for the draft and immediately tells the producers out in Bristol to go to commercial. I have to break a story. And the story was Aaron Rodgers went AC 130 gunship on the Green Bay Packers draft and said, I want out of Green Bay. I might actually retire. I don't like what's been going on around here. And everyone was expecting Aaron Rodgers to be shipped for a bevy of draft picks, and they're going to make it happen. And Mark Schlereth is coming out there saying, oh, it's a done deal with Denver. Well, long story short, nothing happened. Green Bay did what they needed to do, and they needed to address the defensive side of the football. They got a cornerback because Desmond King was torched in the NFC Championship game. It would be nice to actually have a defense that can hold the lead, which is something the Green Bay Packers haven't done in a long time. You had to replace the center that signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. They got one in the second round. And then they drafted a wide receiver in the third round whose comp is a Randall Cobb-esque player. But no, don't say that to all the Aaron Rodgers defenders out there, because apparently for the last 20-something years or whatnot, the Green Bay Packers have done wrong by him. But let's not forget the fact that he's a 3-time NFL MVP, 1-time Super Bowl champion, and the biggest prima fucking donna I have ever seen in my entire life. If he wants to retire, go retire. Go host Jeopardy. I'll go pack your fucking bags. I will drive to Boulder, Colorado, where I think that's where you're living now with your new wife. I will pack your bags. Hers too. I will pack the bags, and I will drive you two jackasses to the goddamn Jeopardy studio. I'm tired of it. You're going to come out in here and say that you are unhappy because Jake Kumaro, who also doubled as the stunt double for Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ, the Mel Gibson movie, because that's what he looked like with the full beard, and the fact that Jordan Love got drafted last year, that's why you want out of town, go for it. Go retire, go cut a $20 million check to the Green Bay Packers and go host Jeopardy. Fuck out of here, bro.
Do you think he's the starting quarterback week 1 for the Packers or no?
Fuck yeah, he's going to be the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. He's not going to, 1, take a pay cut to go host Jeopardy, and 2, cough up $20 million back to the Green Bay Packers, who he feels has wronged him. And I don't think... Is the trade going to happen this year? No way. Like, they can't eat that $38 million dead cap hit. But could it happen next year when the cap hit's only going to be $22 million? Yeah, that's palatable. Like, we saw that with Odell Beckham Jr., where the Giants had to hold their nose and eat a dead cap sandwich. But it's a lot better than being crippled by $38 million. But he'll be starting next year. He'll fucking show up.
Wait a minute. So wasn't after June 1st of this year is when the cap hit can go down? Or did I read that wrong somewhere?
I think it goes down, but it's not enough to stomach like the cap hit and the potential of what happens if a player gets hurt. Now you're not going to have enough salary cap to sign somebody to replace somebody. Like, the only way that a trade like this could work is not only just draft picks, but now you're going to have to get young star talent on rookie contracts to make the cap hit work. And I don't think a lot of people are going to be willing to part ways with maybe 2 or 3 young athletes on rookie contracts that are gonna be worth it. You're not gonna get fair value for Aaron Rodgers. Like that is what the Green Bay Packers are gonna have to understand is like no matter what, like you're never gonna get fair value for Aaron Rodgers. You're not gonna get fair value for Russell Wilson, who's been a squeaky wheel too, or Deshaun Watson prior to his legal issues. Like, yeah, all the draft picks in the world are great, but like you have to hit on those. You're also going to need to cough up players, and I don't think a lot of people are going to do that, especially the way the rookie pay structure is.
Well, let's say we take into account what Mark Schlereth said, and maybe there is a deal done, on the hush-hush, that after June 1st, this thing can go official. What if, Denver gives them, let's say, I don't know, 2 or 3 first-rounders and Jerry Jeudy? If I'm the Packers, I am taking that in a heartbeat and running with it. Because
you give me Jerry Jeudy and Bradley Chubb, maybe I'll think about it, because that defense is still a fucking problem.
Well, all of this really comes down to one thing. How good is Jordan Love? Is he ready? Because if he is, then, the Packers are sitting in a great position. They can start their young quarterback. They can get out from underneath Aaron Rodgers. They can get a shit ton back for him and help build a future for Jordan Love. Like, I think if Jordan Love is ready, you could see Aaron Rodgers being moved down. Now, the other part of this, I agree with you, Puma. I think Aaron Rodgers is just a baby, man. He is absolutely one of the biggest babies ever. I don't know what he's complaining about. The last 2 years, he's been, 26-4 in the regular season. He's been to 2 NFC Championship games. And, in the second one, there was a chance if he played better, he could have beaten Tom Brady and the Buccaneers and gone to the Super Bowl. But I agree with your overall sentiment. The guy's a baby. And I think there could be a really good chance he's not a Packer next year.
I just don't want him hosting Jeopardy.
You know what? Just go host Jeopardy.
No.
I'm slowly becoming the Pete Prisco at Prisco CBS on Twitter of the podcast. Go host Jeopardy. I'll pack your bags. I can't do this passive aggressive bullshit. And then when Tyler Dunn of the Bleacher Report at the time writes this expose about Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy and everyone and their brother, and the biggest supporter of Aaron and Mike Silver is like refuting everything that Tyler Dunn said. I don't know if you want to reread the article now and then look at how things have played out. Yeah, I like to think Tyler Dunn hit on a lot of things that he said about Aaron Rodgers. Go host Jeopardy. Go take a pay cut.
No, there's no secret he's kind of a crappy human being. I mean, you look at he's excommunicated his family. All you've heard was he's been pissed off since Jordan Love has been here. He just went out and rattled off an MVP season. He's got no reason to be upset up in Green Bay. They have, his offense, he's got the weapons around him. You can claim that he doesn't have them, but, they just re-signed Aaron Jones up there. He is a big baby, and for that reason, because I actually enjoy watching Jeopardy, I want no part of him near that show. I watched him for the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to pull my hair out.
And you also got to think, too, like, if you keep hearing these reports that Aaron Rodgers thinks he doesn't have all world weapons around him, like, how do you think, like, that resonates in the locker room where Aaron Jones balled out of his mind as a top 5 running back in the NFL, Devontae Adams is an all-world wide receiver, and you have a all-pro left tackle and David Bakhtiari. Like, how do you think that resonates in the locker room? Like, at some point, that is going to start rubbing people the wrong way. Like, go pack your bags.
Did you see what Devontae Adams tweeted out earlier today?
Yeah, I saw that.
What was it? You got to appreciate what you got, when you
have
it or something?
Yeah. Like, that you can tell it's starting to affect them up there. And, me as a fantasy owner of Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers better be the freaking quarterback next year, and he better be freaking happy and better toe the line because I need him.
Yeah.
But, it's fine. Jordan Love's going to ball out.
I hope so, but...
Well, I mean, that's a great point. And, like, Puma, you're the biggest Jordan Love fan. I remember last year you were basically all but sucking his peen come at draft day. Like, do you think he's ready? I mean, obviously we haven't seen him last year in spring ball, but there's reports coming out, in preseason ball, but there's reports coming out that, some days he looks great, like the next, Patrick Mahomes, but some days he looks pretty bad. Like, I mean, it's a very mixed bag of reporting coming out of Green Bay for our boy.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I still believe in the talent. I like him a whole lot. And, let's not forget this. Aaron Rodgers wasn't God's gift of football when he got drafted, too. There was a couple of preseasons where he started, and there were serious questions being asked to Mike McCarthy and inside that building if Aaron Rodgers was going to make the 52-man roster. Like, there were legit questions that he might have been cut early in his career. And the kid, he had enough time to develop, and he is the guy that he is now. So, and Green Bay has shown that they are going to be patient with their first round quarterbacks that they draft. So, I think Jordan Love is going to get a lot of a wide berth in his development, and I think that with the pieces around Jordan Love and the type of offense that's being run, and I don't think Jordan Love is going to be the squeaky wheel bitching about audibles and whatnot. He might actually execute the system of Matt LaFleur the way it's supposed to be executed. Now, I understand Rodgers won an MVP, but we also have to remember the year before when for about a month and a half, the big news cycle was, is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to call an audible in the play? How does this work? What do you do with the play in the check? And it's just so asinine. Like, give Jordan Love enough time to develop. We're actually going to have preseason games this year. We're going to see what he is. But I'll tell you this much. If he has a rough outing in preseason, I'm not going to be running him out of town because I'll just go find old highlights of Aaron Rodgers when he almost had to be sent on the bus.
All right, Burge, any last losers before we move on?
Yeah, just one I wanted to touch on is the Las Vegas Raiders. They traded what seems like their entire offensive line this offseason. Rodney Hudson getting shipped out, and Trent Brown getting sent to the Patriots, and they really didn't do enough to address that. Derek Carr, they have their quarterback, say what you want about him, but, like, they have him there. They have a great running game, with Josh Jacobs and now with Kenyon Drake there, and obviously they have the receivers. Henry Ruggs is there, was brought in, and they reached in their first round for their offensive lineman, taking Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama, and then they didn't take another offensive lineman until the 7th round. And it just seems like they didn't do enough to address that side, that major need for that team. And if I was a Josh Jacobs fantasy owner, I'd be very concerned. And I just think that they could have done more. And to me, outside of the obvious, with the Bengals not addressing their offensive line, the Raiders are one of the biggest losers in that department for me. That's it.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it took Alex Leatherwood at 17, man. That was absolutely insane. Now, obviously, I think, Puma, you brought this up. Like, there's actually going to be some sort of changes in the front office for the Raiders going forward?
Yeah, that was a report by some of the Vegas beat reporters. I forget the main guy's name, but he writes for The Athletic. But he was saying that they expect some heads to be rolling after the pick in the first round of Alex Leatherwood. So I don't know what that means. Maybe the head guy in the scouting department is going to be gone, because I don't think John Gruden's going anywhere. I think Mike Mayock might get another draft to get shit going. But yeah, heads are going to roll in that scouting department, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, what was he mocking at, like late second, early third? Is that where Leatherwood was supposed to go?
That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah,
and they took him at, what was it, 17?
17. That's a reach. That's a bad pick, man. But still, better pick than Mac Jones. Moving on.
Don't even start, man. Just get us on Twitter. You'll see us going back and forth, man. That's all you got to do.
All right. Well, listen, winners and losers, that segment has ended. So let's move on to the Bullets with Burg. All you, brother.
All right. So it was a very interesting draft in terms from a dynasty perspective. I'm about getting ready to dive into one of my league's rookie drafts, probably starting either late tomorrow or Wednesday morning. So, I own 6 picks in the draft. It's 3 rounds. Kind of touched on this on previous podcasts, but there was definitely some very intriguing landing spots for some of these rookies, and definitely some that were kind of like meh. You don't know what to expect coming out of that. The consensus right now for your top overall pick is Najee Harris, who landed in Pittsburgh there. They have an obvious need for a running back with James Conner bolting for Arizona. There's still some concern with him. They didn't really address their offensive line issues there. So, time will tell, whether Najee Harris will succeed there. The other interesting landing spot, Puma, you kind of touched on it in the losers segment, was Travis Etienne going to Jacksonville. He was billed as, the second running back coming out of, in terms of fantasy out of this draft. And the landing spot for him hurt his draft stock big time. I kind of, if I'm looking for somebody that I want to play for me immediately next year, he's not the guy. Too many question marks going into that. The receivers, you had Jamar Chase going to Cincinnati, which is a great landing spot for him, playing with his quarterback, despite their offensive line issues. I think that is a great fit for him. Jalen Waddle, we talked about it, great fit in Miami. Devonta Smith got a great fit in Philadelphia. They don't really have anybody else there. They have Jalen Reagor, but they don't really have anybody else there. One for me that I'm going to stay away from in the rookie draft is Rashad Bateman, who ended up in Baltimore. They don't really have fantasy producing wide receivers. That part of that's probably in play because of Lamar Jackson and the style of offense they run there, being run heavy. The quarterbacks you could see go higher in the rookie drafts this year. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, among others. And one of my kind of sleepers that I'm kind of hoping falls to me in my rookie draft is Trey Sermon, who ended up in San Francisco. Obviously, they have a run-heavy offense there. They have, Tevin Coleman's gone out of that offense. And, Raheem Mostert's getting up there in age, can't stay healthy. So he's a very intriguing receiver there. So, hopefully next time we record this pod, I can let you know the results of my rookie draft. There's going to be a lot of trades of picks and stuff going on there, but hoping for a successful one.
Do you know where you pick yet, or is that something you guys do on the fly?
No, we pick based on standings from the last year. So I was a victim of bad luck because fantasy's a crapshoot. It's luck once you have your team. So I picked number 4 out of 10 in the draft. I was the highest scoring team in fantasy last year, and I missed the playoffs. So just pure luck. So I pick at 4. So I assume Harris, Chase will be off the board 1-2 at 3, kind of like the NFL draft. It's kind of a toss up. Do you want to go running back at 3? The person ahead of me will go running back. ETN, Javonte Williams, who kind of landed in a favorable spot in Denver. Or do they go, with the tight end Kyle Pitts, or do they go receiver with Waddle or Smith? So I'm kind of in an interesting position. I'm tossing around the idea of trying to trade back in my draft to, kind of have the decision made for me. But I can't really go wrong with, with who I'm going to end up with at the 4th overall pick.
Now, when you trade back, are you going to trade back for compensation or coupons?
Got him.
I consider coupons, assets. So if I trade back, and even if I got to wait a year or two for those picks, 'cause we can trade future year draft picks. So if I got to trade 4 to 7 to get 2 seconds in 2022, that's not going to complain about that kind of return. Obviously, I'm going to shoot for more, but. I think based because I've had discussions with people about possibly trading back. I think I'm going to end up picking at 4. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm not gonna pull Patriots this year. I'm not gonna trade back. I'm just gonna take my guy.
Spoken like a true Belichick disciple.
Bella, go!
Oh, Jesus Christ!
All right. Okay. Cool.
So that kind of wraps it up.
Awesome. All right, so fellas, we're at 75 minutes. Do you guys want to get to anything else, or do you guys want to wrap it up?
Aaron, let me know where the address is, and I'll show up and pack. I'll pack your fucking bags. Fuck
Jay, you want to get into it?
Get into what?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
What's there to get into? I've already made my case. I mean, I got nothing else to say, man. The guy's
we can keep arguing.
I'm okay.
Jesus.
I've had enough of that.
Good man.
I need to mentally get right. I need to get on board with this. I don't want to hate my team for the next 3 years. I'm in a bad position. I haven't had anything positive out of the Patriots for about a year and a half now. So listen, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if this all works out, and it's a grand master plan, then great. I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. Unfortunately, I just don't see it. And this pick of Mac Jones is going to be looked at as one of the worst picks he's made.
I'll be here slamming that in your face when that time comes.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
I know Puma's going to be bashing his head off the wall. He might knock himself out before the end of the pod.
No, Aaron Rodgers will probably kill me when I show up at your house with a U-Haul, being like, "Hey, pack your tell me what's getting loaded in the truck.
No Jeopardy.
I'll drive you to Jeopardy.
No.
Deal with it. You and Chantel are gonna have to deal with that shit. I can't deal with it. Prima donna nonsense. You can stand there with a blazer, doing his stupid hosting gimmick. I don't fucking care. Fuck this guy.
Hey! I don't know if you saw any of the episodes, but there was one of the guys' answers to Final Jeopardy was who decided. I wouldn't have made that kick either. Kind of making the joke.
Yep.
He was just kind of like, oh, ha, 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 kind of like trying to like not say anything stupid. Like you thought it was funny. And he agreed with it, but he couldn't say anything. It was awkward.
Go host Jeopardy. Go host.
No.
Anywho, let's get the hell out of here. It's almost 11 o'clock, and my wife's gonna kill me.
I know. Me too.
Anywho, and now Liz Taylor, do you have any last word before I plug it up, or what?
No. I just want to make it known to everybody that after the draft on Thursday night, I've officially retired Bella Fraud, and now he's moved over into the Bella Shit arena. So from here on further,
you can't let it go, can you? You can't let it go, can you?
From here on out, we are in the hands of Bella Shit. But there seems to be some light at the end of the horizon. Looks like they're actually trying to rein him in, trying to give him some input to the draft, and that's well applauded. So thank you, Robert Kraft, for doing something useful.
Well done to get the last word in there. When I prompted
on
you
that
to get
note,
to it.
we're gonna Bella, get the hell out of here. This episode of the podcast and previous ones can be found on Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts under Pro Football Radio Podcast. Leave a 5-star review on Apple. That helps us with some kind of algorithm in the back end of things to be promoted and more easily found. So 5-star review, greatly appreciated. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, Twitter at PFR Podcast. I'm on the Twitter machine, Brando_Puma. Jay Cheema is at Jay Cheema. And our senior analyst, senior contributor, Eric Burgess, a.k.a. The Burge, is on the Twitter machine at Burge the Goalie. Definitely check him out for him going hard in the paint with Jay over Bella Shit, over Bella Goat, Mac Jones versus Big Mac, Big McCorkle, Dad Bod. Also check him out for his Tuukka Rask hot take victory laps that he's probably going to end up sending out before he goes to sleep tonight because
Already did it.
He already did it while recording. He's a man of many hats and traits. But yeah, I would be doing it too if my hockey team made the playoffs. But definitely check him out at Burge the Goalie. Otherwise, that's all I got. Let's get the hell out of here.
It really sounds great when somebody else says Bella Shit. It really flows off the tongue.
My Twitter handle's going to change.
All right. See you guys next week.
Goodbye.
Adios.